Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 21 of Material Issues. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Mr. David Bash of the International Pop Overthrow Festival. That's kind of like a Monday Night Football thing when they go, the University of Alabama, or whatever the heck it is. It's the International Pop Overthrow Festival, which has successfully made its comeback here in pandemically challenged 2021. David, how are you doing tonight?
How you doing, Mark? I'm okay. Well, I have a bit of a disclaimer, folks. I had 3 teeth extracted a few days ago. I've been on some pain medication, which contains codeine, so I'm a little bit foggy right now. So I'm not. This network is not responsible for anything said by any of its hosts today. So.
And I was at the dentist today myself, and I successfully bit my lip. So if it looks like I was in an altercation earlier, it was just an altercation with myself. But hey, we're glad everybody's tuning in tonight. We're going to have a little bit of fun with another special guest for episode number 21. Hard to believe we're 21 episodes into this, David.
21, like I said, it's time for people to buy us a drink because we're legal.
We are legal at episode 21. We've always said from the beginning we're gonna have episodes where we're gonna talk about some new releases and box sets and cool things like that. Well, that happened. That ended with about episode number 2, and I
think episode 3. I think our first 3 were just us.
Well, we've been on such a great roll with fantastic guests, and tonight is no exception. Everybody's going to enjoy that. So if you're watching and you want to make any comments, you want to say hi to us or questions for our guests, please do. In the next couple of weeks, we've got some more fantastic guests coming up. We'll talk about that towards the end. What else you got going on, Mr. Bash?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I'm still working on IPOs, New York, Boston, and Hamilton, Ontario. They will take place in November. And I just got a new desktop computer after 12 years. My last desktop, believe it or not, one that I've been using up until a few days ago, had Windows XP as its operating system. Can you imagine that? Maybe if I didn't buy so many records, I could actually afford a computer. But it got to the point now. It got to the point where the XP just wasn't handling a lot of the programs that I needed to use. So I finally got another desktop. They came and installed it today. They meaning Best Buy Geek Squad, and I've been playing with it and the computer for the past several hours, and just trying to get used to it. But right now, we're doing this on my laptop, which the new desktop didn't include a monitor, so I'm using the old monitor. Doesn't have a camera on it, so I have to buy a webcam, which I will do, and then I'll start being able to do this from my desktop computer. Hopefully that's not all too confusing, because it's confusing the hell out of me right now. But then everything is, because I'm loopy.
I know you're loopy, and we're getting old too. We're losing parts that we never thought we'd lose at this age. But
hey, mine are still here. They don't necessarily work. But I haven't lost any parts.
Mine are just hanging around.
And you're right about the age thing, because in the last few weeks, there'll be times where I can picture an image of someone and their name is not coming back to me, and it's just been really weird. Now and then I have to, if it's somebody in the entertainment world, I have to go on Google and do maybe a 6 degrees of separation with somebody I can recall to get to the person I can't. And that's been happening a bit more lately. So,
yeah.
But apparently, there's a link between Alzheimer's, as a nice segue into that, and vitamin B12, or lack of it. And I do not lack B12, so maybe I'm okay.
So go figure. Yeah, you just happen to you're just forgetting your mind is making room for newer stuff. That's what it is.
There's always that.
There's always that.
It's really not even a matter of that. It's that the filing cabinets in our memory centers, hippocampus or whatever. Hey, Kurt, the filing cabinets are not organized very well, and the more you start putting into that disorganization, the worse your recall becomes for any particular object. So the people who have good memories have learned to organize those files, to reorganize them in a way where they're more efficient. And I have not tried to do that. So
now here's a question for you though. Knowing your love of all music or music in general, and you're listening to music all the time, your world is music. And I love music myself, although I can easily say that. Go ahead, turn on. I can easily say that I don't think I have as much music playing around me all the time as you do. However, the problem I've been running into for the last year or so is that there's always music in my head, and it's hard for me to shut it off. And I've talked to people about it and say, how do you do this? Because like for 3 days in a row now, Queen's "Somebody to Love" is on nonstop playing in my head. Why? I do not know, but it keeps me up nights. It actually drives me a little bit batty, and I don't know that there's actually a condition for that, or whether people have that problem, but I can't turn it off sometimes, and it's almost borderline insanity.
My guess is there is a disorder with that name. I haven't taught psychology for over 20 years, so it's probably something new in the DSM. You may want to pick a copy up and take a look.
I will do that.
Hey, Andy, what to do about that? I would just say do as well as you can to ignore it, and I think it's ultimately just going to go away.
It probably will.
Don't fixate on it if that's possible. Just let it happen, own it, and eventually it'll just go away. But if you fixate on it and panic about it, that's probably just going to exacerbate the problem. So,
it's kind of like my ex-wife. I didn't fixate on it, and she finally went away. Hope she's not watching. Oh God, are there any attorneys? David, who do we got on the show?
Good advice for you would-be divorcees out there. But anyway, let's dispense with this nonsense.
I know.
Let's get on our esteemed guest, and it's an honor to have this gentleman. He was unfortunately for many reasons the bass player of one of the coolest pop punk bands that ever were, the Muffs, and he's also a bona fide record geek, as I am, and as you are, and as many of our listeners are. Not just records, but memorabilia. He works now at a very cool record store called Record Surplus. I love that place. And he's just a really cool guy to talk to. And I'm sure he'll have a lot to say. So without further ado, would you please give a huge welcome to Mr. Ronnie Barnett.
Hey,
good evening.
Or David.
I'm here.
David
still
Barnett.
That aging stuff.
Did
we lose the audience with all that desktop?
They're all gone.
Yeah, okay.
David, are you enjoying retirement?
Yeah.
No, the all-timer stuff. Yeah, that's where you really lose them, I think. But hey, fellas.
You saw the questions floating in. Alzheimer's questions left and right. We're just not qualified.
That's for sure.
I remember going to Freak Beat once, and they were saying like, the conversations we have now are things like, you don't need a gallbladder, things like that. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, one of my favorite bands out of England in the pop punk era was 999. They're still playing. And the last time they came through Philly, I got together with Nick and Guy, and we went out for Indian food because I've known them for a long time. And our conversation just revolved completely around atrial fibrillation, digestive problems. In the past, we used to talk about great music, or did you see the hot looking lady in the white miniskirt? Up now, it's like, so how's your atrial fibrillation?
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
So
how much medication are you on? That kind of stuff.
yeah, really, you take 50 milligrams.
Oh, my
So
God.
things change, but it's all good.
Well, let's again dispense with the talk about old age, and let's start talking about childhood. Ronnie, did you how did you become a music fan? Did you have parents? Did you have older brothers that or sisters that influenced you, or did you do it all on your own?
Well, what happened? I did have older brothers. I got 4 older brothers. I'm the young one. And I my first kind of memories of seeing records was seeing like the Black Sabbath Paranoid album cover my brother had. That cover horrified me. If he had the first one, that would have scared me too, right? But he had a Paranoid. He had Alice Cooper Killer. That was another scary record. I keep trying to center myself. And what happened was, I was in the Partridge Family and stuff, and my parents gave me some money and had my brother take me to the record store. This is in 1972. I'm 7, and I wanted Partridge Family records, and my brother kind of pushed what he wanted on me. So I walked out of the store with Frank Zappa's Apostrophe and Cheech and Chong's Big Bamboo. So
typical 7-year-old fare.
Yeah, really.
He took those records. He took that big paper out of the Cheech and Chong record, yeah. And so those were first records. And then what happened was we had my parents' best friends lived in New Orleans, and one of their children, their daughter's boyfriend, gave me a big stack of Cream magazines when I was 9, like 1974. So those are my textbooks, and I became obsessed with rock and roll at age 9. I remember, at age 10, I was begging my parents to take me to see The Who and stuff. And
wow,
so that was I have no memories of not being a music person. You know what I mean? So.
Now, did that start you on your way to these are albums I want for my birthday? Or
you guys are kind of freezing up on me every now and then.
We good? All right. I'll keep us.
You guys are freezing up every now and then, so if I pause, that's why.
You're looking good. Everything seems good.
No. As long as I look good. I was going to ask how my hair was. David will know this. I'm a big Kiss fan. I became a big Kiss fan again in 1970, probably late 75. Right when Dressed to Kill came out, and before Alive.
They're not power pop.
Dressed to Kill was I borrowed money. No, well, there's some power pop. There are some power pop songs.
Here we go.
No, we're not going to go there.
Oh, that's right. You had that. That's right. I will spend the whole hour doing that, right? They had some power pop elements. They were Raspberries fans, all right? So I borrowed money from my Uncle Mac and bought Dressed to Kill, became obsessed with Kiss. Then Alive came out, and that just like compounded the whole thing. And so the first concert that I got to go to that I wanted to go to was Kiss in 76 on the Destroyer tour. And my dad was well connected. He got his like person who worked for him to take me. So we had like 15th row. And, in retrospect, like a lot of music, in retrospect, people don't really get the impact that it had. But man, there was nothing like seeing that show to an 11-year-old from 15 rows back, in 76. I've seen like John Denver.
Ronnie. I saw that same tour, but I was 18, and you're frozen here. Is he frozen for you, Mark?
Yeah, he's frozen. If he can hear us, he can maybe get back on. All of a sudden, he just went. Zzz.
As we know, it happens.
Oh, wow.
Oh, thank you, Karen. Likewise.
It's all right. You all realize, says David Lee Roth on. Yeah.
Yes, we realize that.
Okay,
There he is.
I'm going to move closer to the router, but I'm going to move closer to the router like it says, but you might hear a dog or my cat might come in.
That's all right. My dogs are going crazy right now for some weird reason, but don't worry about it.
It'll be like the Pet Sounds interview then. We'll have dogs talking in the background. That's okay.
I need a pillow, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. If you asked something,
that's all right.
It's
all good. David was talking about his seeing the same tour, but he was 18.
Yeah, I saw the Destroyer tour. I saw Kiss at the end of '76 at the Syracuse War Memorial in
I'll be right
Syracuse,
back,
New
guys.
York.
I knew you
I
were
was
a
18.
fan, David.
Well, this was the thing no, I am a fan. I just don't think they're power pop, but I like them. Well, when you're 18, you're ambivalent because Kiss is not cool when you're 18. You don't want to admit
Right.
that you like them. You don't want to admit to you like them to your Zeppelin loving college friends. So
Well, at that point, it was still all right, David. It wasn't. It was a couple of years, a year or two later, where they became uncool and little kids. Well, I guess I was a little kid liking them.
no, but at 18, at 18, you didn't want to say that you like Kiss, at least not in college. But my friend Keith and I went, and we were among the oldest people there. And I remember.
Nice. Did you wear makeup? Did you?
So I remember it. I remember not being able to see the stage very well because of all the smoke. Yeah, there were a lot of 16-year-olds smoking pot there.
Nice. Nice.
And one 18-year-old named David Bash.
Yeah. My friend Keith too. But yeah. So that was all right. So how does Kiss and all the other stuff you're listening to lead you to join a band or form a band, whichever happened?
Oh, yeah. What happened? Yeah, I was never good at forming them myself. I'll probably get to that. Yeah, what happened was I was a little kid hanging around the local record store. Right, it was called Southwest Records. I became friends with the manager. I started like sweeping up and helping around the place for promos.
Yeah.
He didn't like anything remotely punk or anything, so I would get the Ramones records and the Clash records and stuff.
Wow.
And so he played bass. In Texas there was this really vibrant blues scene. There's vibrant music scene in Texas, at that point of every kind of music. But he was into blues, so he turned me on to, ZZ Top and stuff. But early Fabulous Thunderbirds, still one of the best bands I've ever seen. He played bass, and he influenced me to ask my parents for a bass. So this is 1978. I'm 13. As you guys know, kids don't ask for basses. Kids don't want to play bass. You want to play guitar, drums, or sing, right? So I asked for a bass. That Christmas, my father gave me a Fender Precision bass and a little Fender amp. That bass is my main bass through my whole career. I never found one that sounded better. It's a mid-70s one. I've messed up my back. On long drives, I feel it. I mean, they're heavy. And I had a couple more, but I never found one that sounded better. So that bass, we made it for life, and it's right over there too. And so what happened was my parents gave me a bass lesson. I took like 2 bass lessons, and the teacher goes, you should really get him a guitar. Pushing me away from the bass. And they did get me a guitar. I got a Charlie Pride model acoustic guitar, which I wish I still had. And I took a couple guitar lessons, but I really didn't take to it. And I just kind of put it aside. And what happened was when I was the summer before I was going into my sophomore year in high school, I ran into a government teacher at our school. And now this teacher, his name was Mr. Byers. He was kind of a legendary around school for being a punk and like singing in a band and stuff. It was very unusual for a teacher. But I knew who he was. I approached him. I met him. And somehow we got to talking. I told him I had a bass. And he warmed up to me and said, why don't you come over? My brother plays guitar. And basically I became friends with this government teacher at my school and his brother, who was older than me. And they taught me. They brought me up. So the first thing I learned how to play on bass was It's Too Bad by The Jam. It was a simplified version because it's a very busy bass line. I didn't learn, but that's the first song I learned how to play, and I learned just by doing it. Yeah. So sophomore year, my high school, I played my very first show. We were the band. We played a Gang of Four song. We played a Wire song. We played a Kink song.
That is so cool.
And to put it in perspective, the other band playing it was playing like 38 Special, Hold On Loosely, and stuff like that. So we were cutting edge, if you will.
What was the name of the band?
But yeah, that was my first. That band was called the Aliens, and then we changed our name to Blessed State, which was a Wire song. Okay. And I stayed in that band for 2 years, and then my senior year, I broke away from them and I joined the rival, the rival high school band. You want me to get that? I joined up with this hotshot guitar player and drummer, and we were a 3-piece. And these guys could really play. Like the guitar, we played keg parties, and the guitar player could play with his teeth. And we did a lot of Police songs, and I realized that formed my style. Really, Sting is a big part of my style. It's like in the pocket, not fancy. You know, I don't think, as far as any music I played, I don't like the bass to stand out. You know, or have a trebly tone, or like, you know, I don't understand bass players that play through pedals. Like, I just plug in and play low and loud. You know what I mean? Right. I would unplug to tune. Like, I didn't even play through a tuner. That's how, you know, and that's the end of my career. So yeah, that got me started. And then, you know, out of high school, that band broke up, and I didn't play. I didn't play for like 6 years. I still had the bass, but I was not that kind of guy to like scour want ads and try to find people. I just thought if I end up with, in something worthwhile, then it'll happen. So,
right, man.
And what brought you out to LA?
Yeah. Well, it was it might be a cliche. It was love. I'd met Kim Shattuck from my band. We'd met in '86. I in the meantime, I was going to be I became a journalist. I was like a music editor at our weekly paper in Houston called Public News. And I thought that's what I do. I'm like, wow, free records. I get to go and I get to talk to Sonic Youth. I get to get in shows free. This is the life for me. But what happened? I met Kim in '86, met on tour. And I met her in Houston, and we kind of talked. And I went to Austin the very next night, saw the Pandoras again, her band at the time. And that's when we really spent a lot of time that night talking and stuff. And it was not romantic or anything. We're friends. A month later, I came out here. My brother had lived in Orange County. So I came out here for a vacation, and I stayed for like 3 weeks and tracked Kim down. And that's really when we solidified as friends. This is 1986 summer. And we stayed in touch. I didn't see Kim again for another 3 years, but we would send each other packages. We'd call each other on the phone. I don't want to sound like every documentary, but there was no internet, right?
Yeah.
You really had to work to stay in touch, and we did.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. So, and we did, and we became friends. And then in '89, the Pandoras came through Texas again, and that's when it became romantic. I kind of did the same thing. A month later, I came out here for an extended stay. That's when we really became a couple, and I decided to drop everything and move out here. So,
had you been a Pandoras fan all along, like even before Kim was part of the band?
Yeah. I was into those box records bands. It's funny, that's the '60s revival, and now those things are like 40 years old, right? Like almost. Yeah. No, I was into all that stuff. You know, I was into that stuff. I was into the Paisley Underground stuff. I mean, this is all the stuff I still love. You know.
Yeah.
Was that unusual? Was that unusual in Houston? Did you have a core group of friends who were into the same stuff, or were they all into more conventional?
They were more conventional stuff, but I had friends. I was I don't want this to sound lofty, but I was kind of like a tastemaker for my friends. Like, they would come over, and I'd play them I had the biggest record collection of anybody. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm working at record stores already at this point, and I would turn my friends on the stuff, and you know, but yeah, I was I was a rabid reader. Again, that Cream magazine thing. I read all the magazines. I kept up on stuff. So if something sounded good, you know, and of course back then, you guys will remember, it wasn't a heavy investment to buy a record. You know, like
right, yeah.
There are lots of used records. You pick up stuff for $4, $3. And then even new records were what, like $7, $8.
Yeah, my paper routes and things, and then when I started bussing tables in restaurants, all my money went to records and things, and you could get quite a haul every week when you visited the record store back then. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I saved my lunch money. I would not eat lunch. Yeah. I'm sure you guys did the same thing.
Well, it was always like, I mean, anything that you could do to save money to buy records. I mean, you know, I was going to New York University, and it cost $3 to park in a parking lot there. And, you know, you could buy a new promo of an album for $3. So it was like, well, what am I going to do? I think I'm going to wait on the street until somebody leaves, 20, 25 minutes, so that I can park free and get another record. So Even in college, it was like that. Every spare cent, So
Yeah.
you're right. You did what you could.
Let's face it, it's still that way, David. Just on a different level.
No kidding. Oh, we've all come full circle. There is no doubt about that.
Yeah. Oh, indeed. It's just it is a mind. I know inflation, all that kind of thing, but it's mind blowing the difference between an album today and what it was in the 70s into the 80s, affordability wise. And it just seems back then, I could put together $15 and go get 3 or 4 albums or whatever, and of course now it's a whole lot harder to put together $100 to get 3 or 4 albums.
Oh yeah, no, I still work in a record store, as David said, and when people every day somebody comes in like, I just got my nephew a record player, and just in my head I'm like, it's too late. Like it's too late.
That's a good way to put it.
It's
too late.
Yeah. No, when it costs $100, like you say, to buy 3 records, or like, when things are. When Rumors is a minty Rumors is $40 record now. I mean,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah. And I take my daughter loves. She's 27. She'll be 27. She turned 27, and she loves vinyl records. She loves a lot of the old stuff. And we were lamenting earlier the passing of vintage vinyl up in New Brunswick, New Jersey. But she'd go up and say, "Dad, can we go record shopping?" Which meant, "Dad, can you buy a couple of records for me?" And I'd be like, this weekend I just buy groceries. I'm sorry.
Right.
But
it's different now.
Yeah, it's
I used
different.
to work my dad to buy records too.
It's all right.
Would you, Ronnie? Would you consider yourself a vinyl snob, or are CDs just as good for you?
CDs are just as good for me. The people that are vinyl only, I mean, they scare the heck out. I won't curse. I think it's weird. To be honest. Like, there's no reason not to work both formats. And it's like, every time you see like a release, I just saw it recently on the True West 3-disc thing coming out. And of course, somebody's like, will it be on vinyl? You know what I mean? It's like, especially like a box set. I think box sets are made to be for the CD format. I do. Like like this David Bowie thing, like it's the new one's coming out. It's like $350 for the vinyl version or $120 for the CD version. I mean, that's a no-brainer to me. Like,
yeah.
Especially when it's like these box sets, you need to hear these demos on vinyl. You know what I mean? Like,
and I want to know if those people buying those vinyl collectibles are actually listening to the vinyl, or are they just buying it to have it and putting it on a shelf somewhere. I mean,
no. And there's things like the Black Sabbath. I mentioned Paranoid before. The Paranoid Rhino box set. The live show is taken from an MP3, and they put it on vinyl. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't.
I mean, here's the other thing.
That's a whole other show, right? Like,
here's the other thing that the vinyl snobs are missing out on. There's so much music out there that's never come out on vinyl and is never gonna come out on vinyl. And these people refuse to buy CDs. Well, they're just not going to have it.
Yeah.
No. To me, that's just nuts.
There's nothing I love more than a retrospective of like an unknown band, from back in the day with like 25 tracks, and liner notes. I mean, that's like nothing I love more than that.
It's awesome. Yeah. And these people, there was that documentary Record Safari that was done. And I have always wanted to be in one of those documentaries because I have a great record collection, as I'm sure you do. But most of my records are CDs, and they're never going to put me in anything like that because they're all vinyl snobs. Everyone is a subject of one of these things.
Yeah, no. Again, there's no reason not to work both. And it's funny. I tell all these bands, the older bands, if you will, like that'll make a new record and make it on vinyl and download only. It's like, you really should make CDs. Like at the store, when like somebody like McCartney or Springsteen has a new record, I get asked for it on CD 10 times to every 1 time on vinyl.
Wow, really? That's really instructive.
Older people will buy. They would prefer a $12 CD than paying a $30 record. On things like that. I'm not making that up. It's true.
No, we believe you. It's very instructive because everybody thinks that CDs are done, and clearly they're not. No. And kids buying vinyl. Kids are buying the records, like you say. They're buying Fleetwood Mac records. They're buying Pink Floyd records. People think the whole vinyl thing is going to blow over and records will be cheap again. I don't see it, because the people that are going to not be in a vinyl anymore are those people. They're buying Kanye West and J. Cole, all these hip hop things.
they're not hoarding records that like these record people want. You know what I mean?
And there still has to be something physical, because there's something magical about the physical, whether it's the vinyl or whether it's the CD with a little booklet that you could still read, and the physical is still very, very important.
Absolutely.
I won't even, as people know, when I do my best of lists, I won't include download only releases. That's my little protest. I always tell bands, you can do press 50 CDs. It's not like the old days where you had to do 1,000. Now you can do as few as you want. Just do it. When you'll sell them at shows. If not, I can point you to where.
Yeah.
If you're a pop band, I can point you to where you'll be able to sell them. But have the product. People want it.
Yes, and like you say, you can get a small quantity and they're cheap to make. And you just do one of those those cardboard sleeve things.
Absolutely, whatever.
Super
it is.
cheap.
Yeah. Whatever it is. Well, let's segue back, because obviously we want to talk about your career. So you've moved out to LA to be essentially. You're with Kim. What happens next? I mean, when do the Muffs form after this?
Okay, yeah. So what happened is, as a lot of people probably know, the Pandoras went through several changes, right? They were the 60s-ish band, and then they went kind of pop. They got signed to Elektra, made a record that didn't come out. And then they went heavy metal, right? Pandoras were led by one person, Paula Pierce, who's not with us anymore. But yeah, she was always just whatever she was into. That's the way the band went, right? So when they turned heavy metal, it's the same old story. They lost their old audience. They didn't gain the new heavy metal audience. So this is right when I came on board out here. So I saw tons of their shows. They're playing to 10 people at the end of the night at the Coconut Teaser, or they're like playing first at like Heavy Metal Club, like Exposure 54, before, Imagine World Peace or one of these bands you'd see in BAM. So they were kind of, they were, things were getting weird. Kim was not into the music. Melanie was our best friend. She was not in the music either. But they stayed on. And what happened was Melanie, well, I should say, during all this, Kim was always writing songs. She had a 4-track recorder. She always wanted to have her own band. She played bass in the Pandoras, but she played guitar. She wanted to play guitar. She had a high school band that didn't play out, with her boyfriend at the time. So she had a stockpile of songs. And what happened was Melanie got kicked out of the band, and a month later they were supposed to go to Europe, and Paula screwed that up, and Kim quit the band. And I remember at the time, like, because I'm always resistant to change. I'm like, you can't quit. What do you mean? Like, anyway, Kim was like, no, we'll have our own band. It'll be great. Meanwhile, me and Kim had already Kim kind of wanted to do it like a concurrent thing. Like me and her tried out a drummer. This is a little known story. Some guy named Murdoch. I would not know how to find him. In Garden Grove. We went there and played with him. And didn't work out. But so Kim gets out of the band, and she's immediately like, look, Melanie agreed to learn guitar. It was all very organic. Meanwhile, right before Kim quits the band, the Lazy Cowgirls, who you guys probably know, their rhythm section quits on tour, right? They're looking for a bass player and a drummer. I remember saying to Kim and Melanie's husband at the time, Larry Hardy, who does In the Red Records, I remember saying, should I try out for the Lazy Cowgirls? And everybody's like, you play bass? What? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I got a bass, So I got in touch with Pat Todd, and I was going to try for Lazy Cowgirls. Now, I love Pat. He's very intense, though. Takes it very seriously. So I talked to him on the phone for a month, just like, this is how we do things. We practice 3 times a week, blah, blah, blah. This is blah, blah, blah. So all on the phone. And then we come down to a physical meeting. We met at the Jack in a Box across from where Amoeba was on Sunset, that one. And Tim and Doug, the guitar player, just totally grilling me, right? And then it comes down to, okay, we're going to audition you, learn these 5 songs. In the meantime, Kim quits the Pandora, and we're talking about forming the Muffs, right? So I have this audition with the Lazy Cowgirls, and I did it. And Pat called me after. He's like, yeah, we're going to keep looking. We want to get somebody that's going to fly off the walls, and blah, blah, which I became that guy. But of course, I wasn't doing that in a rehearsal room. I never did that in a rehearsal room. So anyway, yeah, the Muffs, we asked Roy to be our drummer, Roy McDonald, from then Red Cross. The girls knew him from Red Cross and the Things. Roy turned us down at the time. To be honest, with the Pandora's reputation, the idea of joining a band of 2 ex-Pandoras and one of their boyfriends playing bass was not not the most promising thing in the world, right?
Yeah.
So he introduced us to this guy, Chris Crass, who he worked with at the Warehouse Records. And we met Chris and we started practicing right away. It all happened really quick. And we rehearsed for like 3 months, and we played our first show January 25th, 1991 at the Shamrock. Our first shows were with these psychobilly bands because Chris knew them. So we played with a band called the Hellbillies, a band called Terror Train, and another one. And this is on YouTube, probably. It was. I'm sure it's still there. For better or worse, our very first gig is there. So yeah, it all happened really quick, and we didn't have no business people. Kim had a publishing deal as part of the Pandoras. They swept her under the rug, and then cut to 8 months later, and we're approached by Warner Brothers, and that was that, right?
So weren't you with Sub Pop for a while first?
No. We actually, when we got asked to do the Sub Pop single, we were already signed to Warner Brothers, but they knew it would be a cool thing to do. Around the time we started talking to Warner Brothers, we were just about to put out our first 2 7-inches on Sympathy for the Record Industry and A Go Go Records in Australia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we recorded them at the same time, and so those were coming out like a month later, and that's all we had. We didn't have a demo, so we signed to a demo deal because we didn't have anything on tape.
Right, man.
I'm quite proud of that. We didn't have any lawyer representing us, nothing. It was all very organic.
So where did just to rewind? Where did the Muffs come from? Where's that? What's the origin of that name?
Well, first off, I like to say it means mistake. Okay.
Yep, exactly.
When it's football season, you see our name in the headlines all the time.
That's right.
Patriots,
I thought it meant what covers your ears. I mean, what else could it be besides?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, David. Thank you.
It's either a mistake or something to
a mistake, a foolish fellow. Look, all I can say, it's hard to think of a name. During that time we were practicing, we were, I'm sure every band goes through this. You say everything that comes in your head, whatever. And I couldn't think of anything better. The other 3 liked it. That's what it was. That's what it became. So
and who's writing at this point? Who's writing material that will eventually be part of your canon?
It's Kim.
How's
Kim was our songwriter. Yeah. Okay. Kim was she nicely threw me a credit on a song or two, and Melanie's got a credit on one song. But Kim was
primarily Kim. Okay.
I think that's how things ideally work. And I think of us as a pop group. And a pop group, we're not jamming, riffs. You know what I mean? Yeah, we were grunge influence in our early days, and some of that stuff sounds dated and stuff. But those songs are pop songs. Yeah, underneath that.
And because Kim was known for that scream that she had, and that voice that could really just be bold. But if you look behind that, you were a pop group. They were pop songs. They were melodic songs that she just happened to kind of sometimes go and you get that and you say, oh, that's very punk, or that's very but the song
no, like you said, Kim loves Mercy Beat. Kim's favorite stuff is Freddie and the Dreamers and Herman's Hermits and all that stuff. Kim loves the Kinks, but she cuts off at like 68. You know what I mean? Like she's very. She likes what she likes, you know what I mean? And so, underneath, like you said, underneath all that, there's that's a Mercy Beat song, really.
I can definitely.
Were you flying off the walls as a live bass player at this point, or did that come?
It happened. I don't know. In retrospect, maybe I felt I needed to get some attention. Being in a band with 2 girls. I don't know. I and again, the grunge thing. That's the days where people are throwing their instruments around and making feedback, and for better or worse, especially when we were a 4-piece, I had a little more room to do it. When it became a 3-piece, I had to lock in a little more, right? Because you got to hold your own. And of course,
were you headlining pretty quickly because you were on Warner's, or were you opening for people?
Well, the Warner thing had nothing to do with that, but we ascended our early gigs, like you say, like Shamrock, Raji's, Club Lingerie, bottom of the bill, and we quickly got all those clubs wanted us back like that immediately. You know what I mean? So then we started maybe, middle of the bill. Then we were like headlining a Tuesday night, and then we very quickly were headlining weekend nights. It's pretty astounding. And It's one of those things you can't bottle that, right? Every band would be big. So
if you could, yeah. But there was just
So no, we got
there was just something special about the formula, and
you can trace our ascension in like Flipside magazine. You know what I mean? Like you can see the gigs and how things were going. Yeah,
that's cool.
Were you starting to have visions of just really grandiose visions, thinking that you were just going to become huge?
Of course, David. When you get signed to a major, I mean, being a music fan, as I've established here. Yeah. Being a fan of music first and foremost, as you guys can pick up on, I was just amazed at every little thing. Right, I'm amazed to hold that first record on Sympathy, and then a Sub Pop wants to do a single with us right now in '92. That blew me away. And then signing to Warner Brothers. I mean, it was just a couple of years before that when I'd read about, whoever Life, Sex, and Death signs to Warner's. It seems so big and lofty to me. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, we're signed, and Madonna has our demo tape, and it might be on Maverick Records, and Freddie DeMann, her manager, and Michael Jackson's manager is coming to our rehearsal, and Ian Copeland wants to book us, and you know what I mean? All this.
It's like the Wonders when Lenny turns and says, "How did we get here?"
Yeah, no. And like I said, we didn't have a demo, so we signed to a demo deal. We go in the studio. We're at Sound City next to Masters of Reality, who had Ginger Baker in the band at the time. So we're seeing Ginger. I'm rubbing shoulders with Ginger Baker every day for the 3 days we were there. He was nice by the end, right? He was nice. Day 3. So yeah, all that stuff just blew me away, David. It was pretty amazing, and still is if I look back.
Unreal. I mean, that's a quick hitting story too. And as I said, it's very much a how did we get here type of a thing. But I mean, you had to have the chops. You had to be good. You had to have something that people were saying this deserves attention. So, and you did. And
we fell in with the right A&R. We had 2 A&R guys. One guy found us. His name's David Katz-Nelson. He had just become a full-fledged A&R guy and just signed Mudhoney, which was a huge deal at the time because everyone wanted Mudhoney after Nirvana blew up. Yeah. And then he brought in this guy, Rob Cavallo. Now, Rob is famous now in his own right, but Rob at the time was a heavy metal guy. He signed the Metal Blade label. Before us, he'd signed a band called Sister Whiskey. And our first record is the first record he produced, and the next one he produced was Dookie by Green Day. So, his career went as such. We get credit in all the Green Day books, which is nice. They liked our record, so it's part of the reason they went with Rob. And when Green Day signed, they took our booking agent, our manager, our A&R guy, our accountant, which is fine. But and they're kind of responsible for us becoming a 3-piece too, because when we lost Melanie, we were going in to record our second record, Blonder and Blonder, and we thought we'd record as a 3-piece and then add a second guitarist, and we got an offer to open for Green Day at the Palladium, and we were like, we can't turn this down, so hey, why don't we do it as a 3-piece? And we did, and immediately we were like, this is kind of this works. This is kind of cool. It's like it's kind of more rockin'. Yeah, you miss that other guitar at times, but
and Kim was good enough on guitar to do that too. You got that's part and parcel of the puzzle there too. It wasn't like everything fell apart whenever you lost a second guitarist. I've watched all the videos online and things, and she was quite accomplished in keeping it full.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And
what was the groupie scene like then? I mean, was Kim scaring them all off? Or was she getting a bunch of male groupies? Because a lot of women who were in bands, you talking to, wasn't really like it was for the guys, but with her, you wonder.
No, there were definitely more guys that would want to be around Kim. I, being the social member, I'm the guy that's out after the show, right? And always people are like, "Oh, is Kim coming out?" Like, I don't know. Probably not. There are definitely more guys. Back in those days when we formed too, there was a lot of girl bands around town, and there were these guys that would only go see girl bands. I won't name names, but they take photos and
I think I know.
Rock the front. Yeah. And we actually scared those people away pretty quick because Kim, that our girls weren't really kissing their butts, and they weren't like, ooh, yeah. And, you know, they didn't stand there while the guy rubs their back while they're looking at these bad snapshots. You know what I mean? So those kind of people kind of went away quick, though we, of course, we got those, you know, throughout our career to a certain extent. But was that
a little? I mean, there's a dynamic there. Was that a little bit hard for you personally with guys that would give Kim, and rightfully so, a lot of attention? I mean, she was an attractive lady that fronted a band and could play, and you're standing there and you've got to kind of, or did you look at it all as part of the whole marketing of the band, and it's all what we got to do to keep the crowds coming?
Yeah, no, you know, and since me and Kim are a couple, okay, we broke up right before we made our first record, right? Like I remember we had a conscious conversation. We're like, look, the band's doing well. We got to stay friends. We're gonna have to work this out. And you know, that said, we knew how to like piss each other off. You know, there were some uncomfortable times in the band. You know, Kim was more volatile back in the early days too. You know, there'd be times where she wouldn't get in the van because she wanted my head on a stick, you know, that kind of thing. But that said, when we broke up, we were done as a couple. So there's no residual jealousy or anything. You know, she started dating the engineer of our first record, Brian Kehoe, who you might know.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
But there was probably still some protectiveness about you for her too, as well. So it's,
no, there always was. You know, at that point, we kind of we locked in as a family, right? We looked out for each other. It was, you know, but Kim wasn't out looking to pick up dudes. Kim was always very faithful, had a boyfriend, you know, it was always, always had a nerdy boyfriend, was not, you know what I mean? She was not the type to hang out with
very
us.
much. Her stage thing was, it would seem to me, was more of a persona than anything, because off stage, she always seemed very sweet.
Yeah, though she had her moments. You know what I mean? She had her moments, but you know, she liked things done her way, and then, you know, she didn't like perfume, so you'd be in an elevator and she'd say snarky stuff to a lady wearing perfume. You know what I mean? A stranger. Like, there were some uncomfortable moments. Yeah, believe me. It was not all angelic.
It's just an interesting dynamic, I think, whenever there are people that are that close on the male-female side involved in a band. And like you said, you guys made a conscious decision to say, listen, we're not a couple, but we got to stay friendly. We got to, and many couples can't do that. And
no. Because everyone's different, right? So everyone's gonna, you know, and that goes for even like bands of males, right? Like everybody, you got to get along. You know, you got to get along on all levels, right? Like, you know, you got to be around each other all day, and you got to have something together musically too. And you know, I'm glad I came to appreciate that what we had was special, especially later in our career. Like the last dozen years we played, I was taking a look at I was taking it all in, even the horrible bathrooms. You know what I mean? I'm like just looking around, smelling. You know, just like, I'm going to remember this. This is special. You know, people are still coming to see us. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
So take us through the arc. I mean, Blonder and Blonder is a big record, and then what happens after that?
Yeah, Blonder and Blonder was kind of our big swing, if you will, because it was after Green Day. We had moved from Warner Brothers to Reprise, which just and that just means so the Green Day people could work our record, right? Their radio person, all that, you know. Lenny Waronker made the decision to let us move over right before he left the company. Sorry, I like to get that kind of stuff in because it still blows me away.
That's what we're here for.
I remember leaving his office once because George Harrison was coming in, and I did not hang around to get a peek. Can you believe that?
Wow.
What a dummy! I know. All that stuff was going to just happen every day, right? Yeah. So what happened? Blonder and Blonder. Yeah, it got the most kind of push, if you will. You know, in our band, we never. And this is to our credit and detriment, right? We never used trendy people mixing the record, or, you know, we didn't kiss too much butt, and it worked against us in a way because, you know, we didn't, you know.
Yeah.
That said, we got to do what we wanted. The records still, they don't sound. Besides the first album, some things sound of its time, but But from Blonder on, things, they kind of sound a bit timeless, if you will. If I think,
I do too.
and that's because there's no reverb and no stuff, Anyway, so that record comes out, and a lot of things happen that year. We get asked to do Kids in America for Clueless, which is our hit single that was never a hit single. Gets played in sports stadiums. It's a thing I can explain to somebody on an airplane, and they'll know who we are. We earned a platinum record for that, and so that happened that year. We did a lot of touring, and then by the time the third major label record came along, Rob, our A&R guy, he's a producer full on now, and he's busy with other stuff. So we produced. When I say we produced it on our own, Kim produced our third record on her own, really. And again, we spent $150,000 making that record. We're recording at Ocean Way next to Eric Clapton. That's the way you had to do it then, right? It's funny now you can make a record that sounds better than better than that for obviously a lot less money. So that record came out, and we knew about a month after it came out that we were going to get dropped. Our manager at the time used to work at Warner Brothers, and he knew, so there was no real promotion. We did the same kind of touring thing we always did, and then we weren't on a major label anymore, and we got an offer from Fat Mike at Fat Records. Our band always kind of skirted these genres, right? Like we the punk people liked us, the power pop people liked us, the garage people liked us. We worked festivals of all those different kinds of music, which I'm proud of. So we got approached for this punk label, and as a fair offer, they gave us a good advance to make the record. And we made a really pop record, and it's our rarest record now because it's out of print. It's called Alert Today, Alive Tomorrow, and we're trying to reissue it, and they stopped communicating with us. So anyway,
I hope you do.
We tried, and they were kind of communicating, and it looked good, and they were going to keep the digital rights, and I don't know why they wouldn't do it. They're going to earn all the money anyway. We still owe them money. You know what I mean? And anyway, so that record came out. We kind of did it the way we used to. We found a cheaper big studio, but we did it in a big studio. Still did the touring thing. I think it's the first time we went to Japan was that year. And then we did that, and then we didn't mean to take a break, but then 5 years went by.
Wow.
And, your career is marked by these records, right? Like people think, oh, they didn't do anything from 99 to 04. We still played, we still toured, we still went places.
Oh yeah.
It just took a while to kind of figure out the next record. And at that time, Anna Warnker from That Dog and Charlotte Caffey from the Go-Go's started their own label, 5'2", and we put out our next record really, really happy with them. And which will be reissued next year. I'll throw that in there.
Nice.
So, that happened. And then again, this Markers, then we didn't have a record till 2014, right? Now at this point, we did take about a 3-year break. How we wrap it? How we doing on time, David?
We're good.
No, we're good.
Okay. I'm trying to make this as concise as possible.
It's tough. You had a long career, buddy.
We had a long career. I know.
And you talk about record geek stuff.
There's
and
a lot of high points
gone.
too. Yeah. There's a lot of things I'm not telling you about our Hollywood career and being in TV shows, and being in movies with Robin Williams. But anyway, so 3 years went by, and that was it was a break, and we didn't expect that break. But I think at that point we just needed to exhale, and we found our lives. Kim met her husband. We still talk to each other. We still had dinners every now and then. And what happens, we got an offer to go to Spain. And so we went to Spain probably in would this be 08, 09. And that brought us back. And then Kim all of a sudden had a fresh batch of songs. And of course, a couple of years go by. And then we make our next record, Whoop-De-Doo, which we finished in 2012. It didn't come out to 2014. In the meantime, Kim joins the Pixies. Okay. And that was really funny. We had a meeting one time. I thought it was a band meeting, right? And Kim starts off, okay, I'm in the Pixies. So what's going to happen? And I'm like, wait, what? I'm in the Pixies. So what's going to happen is we're going to wait. Our record's going to come. And meanwhile, she had told Roy, but they're like, we can't tell you, Ronnie. You got a big mouth. You know, you're going to tell somebody. Because she was in the Pixies for like 8 months before they announced it, right? So when people look back, oh, she was in the band 4 months. She was in the band like a year. Just people didn't know. So that happened, and she left the Pixies. Meanwhile, we hooked up with, is it weird to say now, Burger Records? At the time,
you were innocent, Ronnie.
At the time, Burger was very hot. Yeah, I wasn't hanging around. Yeah, we were older than. Yeah, anyway, at the time, Burger was super hot. I'd met Lee. We both went on this double date with these girls that were friends, you know, with each other a couple years before that, and Burger was interested, and so Whoop-De-Doo came out in 2014. We got a ton of press for it because we hadn't had a record in 10 years, and the whole Pixies thing and Burger Records thing, and that was actually a fun year. We did all the Burger festivals, and you know, we toured everywhere. We went to all the foreign countries again. When I say foreign countries, you know, as a rock band, you guys probably know you go to the countries where they love rock. You go to Spain, Italy, Japan, and then our last year we finally made it to South America, which was the best. Not to put down the other countries. All those other countries are great too. But Argentina, it was, you know, our final gigs. We did one more. We did our last gig in Vancouver, but our final gigs were in Argentina, and they're really special. And I'm really glad that our last gigs were, you know,
something like that. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, 1,000 people in Buenos Aires. You know, you can see it on the cover of our last record, No Holiday. Like that's us taking a. Anytime we had a show like that, it was a very adoring crowd. I would say, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, bow. And then so we joined hands right at the back of a Stranger in Town.
And of course, this all leads into something very sad.
Yeah. So like I say, so since we came back, when we went to Spain in like 08, 09, we worked for the better part of 10 years, right? Just continuously. We learned at that time we were doing fly-ins, right? So that worked for us. Just like, you know, we learned you didn't have to have a record. We're established enough. We can go to the East Coast, play 4 dates, rent a van, have the promoter set up backline. It's just the three of us, and we would come home with we'd make money, it'd pay for itself. We did that in the Midwest. We did it at the West Coast. So we worked steadily up until that trip to Argentina and the last gig in Vancouver. That puts us in like May of 17?
16,
Anyway, and we made a conscious decision then to, okay, we have some new songs. Kim's going to write a final batch. You know, putting together a Muffs record, you need like some slow songs, some pop songs, a couple fast songs. We needed a couple of fast songs. So, and Kim wrote in bunches. Like she'd all of a sudden present you like 4 or 5 songs, and you'd be like just blown away, right? Like, so anyway, we didn't book anything for the summer, and Kim was going to write, and we're going to make the record in the fall. Summer goes by. Of course, we're still talking during all this, but in August, I hadn't seen Kim all summer, and she picked me up. We went to go do a podcast, Bruce Duff's podcast, and on the drive there, she told me how she was not having trouble gripping with her left hand. And we continued to talk about it on the podcast. You can hear this. It's kind of eerie now. But she brings it up and she's like, I'm going to doctors. They think it's carpal tunnel, or it might be a nerve in my neck, and you hear me say, well, I'm very concerned. And then the next month, our friend Derek Anderson did a Wild Honey show, and on a track on Derek's record, he had the Peterson Sisters and the Bangles and Kim be his backup band. So he wanted that backup band for the show. Kim couldn't play guitar, so Kim just sang and played tambourine or whatever. But it was a Wild Honey backyard show, and there's a picture of her at that show. She's holding her hand up to my face, and you can see me. The picture is my direction. You see me just like serious, her holding the hand up. She's explaining this hand thing to me still. It's not getting better. Again, different things. They really thought it was this nerve thing, and she might have surgery in the neck, and that affects, you know, your nerves up here affect your hands. And
we're going to go over, by the way. Keep talking.
Okay. So a month later, and now ALS. If anybody doesn't know, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. to put it simply, it basically shuts down your whole body and your speech. Meanwhile, your brain is on completely. No dementia. No, it would be much more humane if that happened. But
I'm a big fan of Lou Gehrig, so I personally know a lot about this. But listeners may not.
They might not because they haven't had anyone experience. Anyway, I don't think it's a stretch to say it's probably the worst thing that can happen to you, right? Some people live for years with it, with mild kind of symptoms for a while, but there's no cure, right?
To be there and not be able to do anything about it.
Yeah,
it's kind of what it is. Yeah,
there's no cure, so there's no. Yeah, it's a fatal disease, right?
But
so
you're there, you just can't.
Yeah. So her father passed away from it, right? And her aunt, so it kind of ran in her family. Yeah. She was always scared of getting it, and come to November, she calls me and Roy, and she's like, I went to the doctor, and he said it's likely ALS. This doctor didn't know the history, and we're all crying, and on the same conversation, she's like, we need to make this record. We have demos. I can't play guitar anymore. We had scheduled, now she couldn't play guitar. We got asked to open for the Dream Syndicate at the El Rey and a gig in San Francisco, which we took. We were going to Kim was just going to sing. We were going to have our friend Adam play guitar. It would have been weird, but we were going to do it. And at this point, she's like, I'm not going to, my speech is she's already getting a little slurry. It really is moving quick. And so we had to cancel that. And in December, we went in the studio to record Roy playing drums to these demos. Now this is the first record where Kim kind of did these Kim would usually construct demos like they'd sound like a finished record. And you'll hear this on the Really, Really Happy reissue because there's a bunch of demos on there. And
oh, wow.
But this time, a lot of them were just acoustic guitar. They were unfinished. She didn't spend time making sure things were in tune or in time. And I kind of compare this to Madcap Laughs by Syd Barrett. Roy had to kind of adhere. We kind of had to adhere to some weird timing stuff. And there's, if recording, things are recorded on the same mic. You can't isolate some of the vocals here. But we decided to do it this way. And, at this point, Kim's having a little trouble walking. She can still walk. She can still get up. I remember Kevin, her husband, took us aside before and says, look, you might need to pick her up from a chair or on the toilet. And sure enough, I'm glad we had this time. Everybody went to eat, and it was just me and Kim, and we talked for an hour and a half. And I remember she went to the bathroom, and she's like, Ronnie, can you come pick me up? And I went in and picked her up, and she's like, can you pull up my pants? I'm like, of course. And I'm like, you want me to pull up your underwear? And this is pure Kim. She's like, I'm not wearing any. I'm like, that's the same old Kim. Yeah, okay. So that's really funny. So anyway, by April, that's December. By April, Kim can't speak or move. It moved really quick.
Wow, it really did.
And what happened, there's a device that can read your eyeball and you can construct sentences, right? So she had this. It's the size of an iPad. And so she could do things. Kim didn't go public with her illness, right? So she still had kind of an online presence. If somebody's paying attention, they would notice these aren't current photos ever of her. But she directed this record, right? So our friend Karen Whitefeld from the Karen Bassett, I'm sorry, using her old name, from the Pandoras. She's a great engineer. She engineered. So we're in Kim's house, and Kim's giving us.
No.
Oh, we just. Oh, there he's back. He's back.
Kim's giving us direction. So she oversaw and produced this record. I'm back. Yeah. Okay. So Kim. Okay. So Kim oversaw the production of this record, and we made this record this way, and it's different than obviously it's different than any record we ever made. There's a lot of different stuff on there, and Kim was still, Kim was going to be around when it came out, so we were kind of promoting it. You have to send out the press and the advances about 3 months before it comes out, and we sent it out and kind of had to take this thing we thought we'd make this one different. We liked the demos and we constructed this one different, and Kim died two weeks before it came out. So we'll never know how the world would have accepted the record, thinking it was just the next Muffs record without this backstory. But, and it was always going to kind of be the tombstone to our career. But it's amazing we finished it. And
wow.
It's one of the most amazing stories that I've ever heard. The fact that she was so determined to make this record with the limitations that she had, and still was able to overcome them and do this. it's astounding. I mean, you know, you look at Lou Gehrig, and you know, he didn't do a whole lot in his last couple of years. He did get a job from the city, and he never exactly quit living. But compared to what Kim did, it's really, I mean, it's astounding what she did. It's
Kim. Well, I mean, Lou Gehrig didn't have this technology where he could really communicate, right? I mean, that's really the heartbreaking thing for people like Charles Mingus died of ALS, and you know, but yeah, Kim did a lot of stuff. She formed that little project with Melanie and Paul Myra, and they put together an EP, and you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, it is astounding. Kim kept busy and you know, planned everything. You know, she had 2 funerals, only Kim, you know, like, so, amazing. And after she passed away, the attention she got was really overwhelming. Like, she was on the news, like in foreign countries. Like Elvis Costello wrote about her. The Who put us up on the screens, the Hollywood Bowl. Like,
we saw that. That was great.
When I eulogized her, I mentioned that, and I said, I don't know where all these MFers were when they were taking us for granted, but it got a big laugh. So. Anyway.
So what's coming out? What's you're talking about it? Some reissues and some things in the upcoming months. What do you got happening here? What's I
think I can announce this now. Yeah. So we're reissuing Really, Really Happy, our record from 2004. It's coming out in May. But when I was looking for extra tracks, I didn't know. I thought it was going to be hard because I knew that Kevin wasn't ready to go through Kim's archives, but Kim made it easy for me. I went to look through, I'm the member who was technically challenged, right? I didn't know how. I don't know how to work digital links, and it all goes over my head. And so Kim would have to burn me CDs of all these demos, right? So even in like 2002, 2003, I got all these discs, and I found one she made right before we recorded of 17 tracks, basically the album in demo form. So that's going to be part of the package. So
wow,
2 CD set, and then it's going to be a vinyl version with a 7-inch for the bonus tracks, because we had bonus tracks for the Japanese version and the Spanish version. And then there's going to be a standalone record. This demos thing is going to be a standalone record for Record Store Day.
Nice.
Wow. Cool.
So the month before Really, Really Happy comes out, in April, we have a Record Store Day record, which is Kim's demos. So I loved her demos, and I always used to tell her, like, I want to compile a record like Pete Townsend Scoop. Your demos are so great. And she'd laugh at me. And this isn't really what I thought it would be, but it's going to be a standalone record, and it's pretty special. So
that's awesome.
Beyond that, your life seems to be going very well. You're working in Record Surplus. For a musician to be able to work at a record store, I mean, there isn't much of a better job than you can get. And you're working with some really cool people, I know. You've got a great girlfriend. I mean, you're just watching your relationship with Julie on Facebook. It's so much fun. No, we love. I mean, I love that. Yep. I love seeing people who are obviously in love and goofy and quirky, and it's great.
Nice.
No, thanks for noticing, David. No, she's special. Yeah. No, I really hit the jackpot there, and then, you know, our buddy Steve Schnee has me as a co-host on his podcast, so we talk to, you know, he has me along to talk to people. I ended up on this Access TV show, Music's Greatest Mysteries, as like a talking head. That's a dream come true, right?
Yeah.
A guy commenting on, you know, the guy from the Iron Butterfly, or like Sid Vicious. You know, all that time watching Best Week Ever on VH1, it really paid off. You know, so you know, if I never make it on TV, there. So. Yeah,
we didn't even get to cover like all the fun.
I still keep getting opportunities, and you know, now I'm on Material Issues. It just continues. It's great.
That's right. You've hit the big time now. Do you any aspirations to do more music?
Any aspirations to do more music? I think we lost him.
David Lee has left the building.
David Lee, just like David Lee. He just stopped. That's it. It's done. You know, if he comes back, It'd be nice to say goodnight. That was a lot of fun, David.
Oh my God, yes.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, that was quite a pleasure.
Yeah, it was. So Ronnie, if you don't come back, we'll just say goodbye. You can hear it on on archive. But thank you so much
Yeah,
for
really.
an amazingly fun interview
Indeed.
and informative.
And I'm and you know, as you said, we covered some really, really interesting, slightly emotional stuff there at the end, which pretty
Sure.
powerful. But David, what do we got coming up in the next couple of weeks? Ronnie finally. Oh wait, I think he's trying to come back on to say hi or good night. There he is.
Oh,
there he's back.
There we go. Sorry,
We-
I don't know what
we-
happened. At least it crapped
It's all
out
right.
at the very
It
end.
happened
right?
to
Not in
me
the
the
middle.
first few weeks of this thing. I couldn't even get on until I solved it. So no
Well,
worries.
we were hoping you'd come back so we could officially say goodnight. We kind of wrapped
Thank
up there
you so
saying,
much for an
Yeah,
amazingly
thank you so
fun
much, yeah.
time.
yeah, we really,
No,
really
no,
good.
fair
we
enough.
hope
No,
you
that was
enjoyed
fun.
it. Oh, good. I'm glad.
Thanks, you too. I totally did. Thanks for.
I wish we
hope
could have
didn't talk too much.
covered some of your memorabilia and ephemera and things like that too, because you've got some really interesting stuff that you've collected. But maybe that'll be another episode in the future.
Yeah, we'll have you back.
That's true.
Ronnie's memorabilia and
enjoyed the
ephemera.
Out the
boom
whole
boom room.
hour.
Yeah, boom boom room, boom boom room. That's on YouTube.
Yeah. No, anytime. Anytime.
thank you.
I'm available for. Yeah. I'll
Ronnie,
fill
have
in
a-
if somebody cancels, whatever.
I got cool.
We'll definitely have you back.
Have a great night,
All right,
my
you too.
friend. Stay happy, healthy, grateful.
Yes.
We'll talk to you again.
Nice meeting you,
night.
Mark. I'll find you
You
on the
too.
Facebook. Okay.
Be good, my friend.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Well, there it is, David. Let's back to what we're saying. What do we got coming up? I know next week you said it is.
Next week we have the great Todd Taylor. A lot of people may not be familiar with him. That name is certainly memorable, but he fronted a band. Yeah, there you go,
Andy.
We fronted a band. He fronted a band in the late '70s, early '80s called Advertising. They were a kind of a new wavy punk pop band. They were a lot of fun. They had an album called Jingles, which is now quite a collector's item. After that, he started putting out solo records, and his solo records are all over the map, but a lot of them are very poppy. And after a long hiatus, he came out with one recently called Frisbee, which reminds me a lot of some of his earlier stuff, and it's really good. He's definitely still got it, and he's a fun interview. And people need to hear this record, so we want to promote it and promote his career. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
The following week, and that's October 13th, of course.
October 13th. Yep. Next
October
Wednesday.
20th, which happens to be my sister's birthday as well. But on October 20th, we're going to have a dynamic duo of Paul Myers and Steve Coulter, the editors of two great power pop books or books on power pop, I should say, that came out recently. Go All the Way and Go Further. And I'm honored to have written an essay in Go All the Way. But yeah, those books are available. And of course, Steve is also a drummer of the Brothers Steve, who have a new record out, which is this. It's on Big Stir. It's called Dos, meaning it's their second record, a Spanish name, for two, and also it's spelled D-O-S-E because you're going to get a dose of them, and it's very good. It's a good record. Should be out in a couple of weeks, I think, or maybe a week. At any rate, and Paul Myers, of course, is he's written a lot of books, most notably one on Todd Rundgren. So he's a great author, and he fronted an awesome power pop band out of Canada in the mid '90s called the Gravelberries. Yes, absolutely. They had a great record, and one of the first things John Borak ever played for me. I had not heard of them, and he had it, and there's a song on it, "Wonder Where You Are Tonight," and I just immediately fell in love with this thing.
Nice.
So yeah, and then he put out a record with John Moorman called "The Paul and John," which was one of my favorite records of his year. I think it's about 7 or 8 years ago. Great record. So he's a multi-talented man, let me tell you. And so he and Steve are going to be on the 20th, and we look forward to that. And after that, who knows? Well,
we got things in the works all the time. So that's why people have to subscribe or join the group on Facebook, subscribe to YouTube, whatever. Tell all your friends, because we got such cool things going on here at Material Issues, things that people don't have on the internet.
Things that people, including us, don't even know about.
We don't even know about, not even us.
So yeah, you just got, we like to wing it, but it works out because, Mark and I are both talented guys and, we know our shit.
And handsome.
Well, maybe you are. I get by. But anyway, yeah, we went over, so we apologize for that, but it was well worth it. And, hopefully we'll see you next week. Thank
Outstanding.
you. Thanks to everybody who listened. And, of course, thank you, Mark, for doing this with me, for coming up with the idea, getting it going. And it's been cool. So much fun for 21 weeks now. And we've got a lot more to go, I'm sure.
My friend, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Just hanging out with you, whether we're live or not, is always a pleasure. But this turns it up a notch, and we have a good time with it. So we'll see everybody next Wednesday for Tot Taylor, October 13th. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay grateful. David, we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Good night, everyone.
Good night.